What's going on, everybody? Good morning, good afternoon, good evening. I hope all of y'all are having a fantastic day. It's another Market Pulse in the evening. My name is ATX Crypto. Today is Thursday, March 21st, 2024. I hope everyone's having a fantastic day. We saw quite a lot of crazy volatility that actually kicked off right before the FOMC meeting amongst Bitcoin and other cryptos. And then we actually saw a pretty decent rally as well that followed soon after Jerome Powell had gave his talk and said what he said. So it's very interesting to see how all of that was actually going to play out. In this video, we're going to be talking about not only the Fed, of course, talking about what they ended up doing with the FOMC, still looking at the rate cuts, looking at Bitcoin price action, looking at Ethereum, diving into some PulseChain, some Hex, and some PulseX, along with the incentive token and some news. So I hope everyone, again, is having a fantastic day. Without further ado, let me kick it off by taking a look over here at Bitcoin, boys and girls. So we actually had the Bitcoin price. Let me actually put it right there. We actually had the Bitcoin price hit a low at one point in time, dang near close to 60,000. It actually ended up dropping all the way down on this one, which was a low of 61,544. This is on the daily right now. And it did shock a lot of people. This was right before the FOMC had their meeting. It's very funny that it ended up doing this because now that institutions are buying, well, now we're seeing a lot of institutional movement with that as well. So a lot of the sell-offs were actually happening. And then right before, it actually hit a low of $60,794 before it actually ended up rallying all the way back up again as of yesterday after the FOMC meeting. If you actually were to break this down on the hourly, you can actually tell the exact moment. So it was roughly around 1 p.m. 1 p.m. Eastern, I believe what it was yesterday. I don't know the exact UTC time as this is in UTC down here, but it was right around this region where people were kind of rallying, kind of optimistic. They didn't really know. Jerome Powell came up and had his discussion, and the price actually went from 62,000 all the way back up to 67, almost 68,000, or no, it was $68,000 on that one move alone. So again, a good 8% move within the span of 7 hours. There is some pullback, there is some retracement. The current price of Bitcoin currently sitting at 65,664 right now at this point in time. So it was actually interesting to see how all of this would end up playing out. And of course, Ethereum actually followed pretty darn closely as well. It actually had a little bit more of a gain just because, again, Ethereum is going to typically outperform Bitcoin in terms of the gains. Now, in terms of the movements, they're probably going to happen pretty darn identically. So we're definitely seeing all of that happen as well with both of those typical tokens. So looking into the FOMC meeting, as a matter of fact, yesterday, what we can actually see on that one, let me actually just pull up a post. So Bloomberg thought the Fed was thought the lead to the global. Let me just try that again. Bloomberg, the Fed, was thought to lead the globe in rate cuts. The Swiss National Bank just cut. ECB and BOE may cut before the Fed as well. So the Bank of England is also looking at doing it as well, aiming at June. The Fed seen as 75% likely to cut in June per the futures currently. And we do take a look at that as well, just to kind of see what the overall estimate is, so we can actually pull up the Fed Watch tool and kind of get a good little gauge as to what people might be ended up thinking on this one. So looking at the Fed Watch tool over here, you can actually see we basically are going to remain at the exact same rate as we currently are when it actually comes to the May 1st meeting. Obviously, we did not get any sort of cuts or anything right now, but there is still a 94% likelihood that we remain at the same rates. Currently, there's still a 70% chance to actually lower the rates in June. So it is pretty interesting to see what could end up happening. Again, these are just kind of one of those tools with the probability to kind of guess, but they tend to go pretty darn close off this probability estimator as well. So seeing this at 70% by June, I don't think we're going to see that personally. I don't really think we're going to see a rate cut by July. But one thing that was announced was that we are still looking at getting 3 rate cuts by the end of 2024, or at least so we are told. So it is going to be very interesting to see how this all is going to end up playing out. I'm really surprised Jerome Powell came out yesterday and had his discussion. It didn't seem like he was too worried about the higher CPI reports and the higher, all these other reports were just coming in pretty dang high, in my personal opinion. And Jerome Powell just kind of said, the constraint of the financial conditions, which, are as loose as they were in 2014 and 2018, excluding COVID, kind of sounds like we're just punting the ball a little bit further. And, it sounds like we're just kind of brushing off whatever we have happening with the January, February reports, as, those are typically just, where it comes to seasonal adjustments. It's kind of what he's saying. So we're going to end up determining what's going to end up happening. I don't see rate cuts coming in May, of course, but that's always to be seen. It is a 94% likelihood already, as you just noticed, as we just discussed, that the rates are in fact going to stay the same. Now, before we go any further, I would like to go out and give a little shout out to the sponsors. So let's go ahead and do that. I want to thank all of our sponsors over on Patreon. Thank you to Debbie Phillips, ES Sports, Claudia Schwartz, Sir Toasty, Joel Lawrence, Joe Blow Crypto, Hector Reyes, Bureau Attila, Sean, Rep Bussy, Robbie Tears, Atlantean, Jonathan, Oyston Larson, Eric Johannesson, Prospector, Darren, Patrick, Joxy Boons, Larry Eats Plants, Sovereign Man, Crypto CPT, Moonmutt, Benny Davis, Shamrocks and Shenanigans, Rugburn 222, Christopher Davis, Lacey, Heximus, PulseXimus, Arzella Barnes, SoFlo Life, Lord Jamie, Mark, Chris Bugatti, Secret Crypto 21M, Hex Stevens, Lucky Taylor, NatNat369, L. James, David Morgan. All right, so appreciate all the help and support on that one as well. So much love to every single one of y'all, to all the patrons. Again, so much love. You definitely help quite a bit. So we have the Ethereum price again doing what we do and what we see already happening. Going back over here to Bitcoin and breaking it down on the daily/weekly. Let me actually pull it up on the weekly, as that's kind of more of an instance as to what I'm going to be gauging. It does look like, once again, the Impulse MACD is still very bullish, so we still have plenty ahead to go, so I wouldn't be too concerned about all of this happening. We did fall below its previous support line for a period of time. It does look like it has bounced off that support, and we are now pushing into a higher, trying to make into that 68, 69K range again. And ideally, we're going to end up seeing if we can push there by the end of the week. What I do find very interesting overall is the Bitcoin ETFs have actually kind of slowed down some of the inflows that have been happening over really the last few days. So far, they have roughly around $54 billion assets under management in terms of all the stuff that they're buying. This is including the Grayscale, GBTC, Bitwise, BlackRock, VanEck, all of these bigger ETF situations. You can kind of see they've all started kind of ticking down over the last week, and we definitely noticed that, starting at the beginning of Monday, it didn't seem like the ETFs were going in as hard, whether that was just due to the FOMC meeting coming up, or whether they've kind of allocated a certain amount of money that they want to allocate at this point in time. It is something that we are paying attention to on this one, and we can actually go to the net flow as well and really see that all of them have kind of ended up kind of slowing it down once again. The only one who really kind of picked it up, let me actually see if I can determine that particular color, I believe was Valkyrie. Let me just see. Oh, here we go. And again, I'm just kind of making sure, because me being the colorblind kid that I am, unfortunately, it doesn't really make too much sense sometimes to which one it is. So I'm eliminating the ones I know it's not, and then leaving the ones that I think are going to show me a little bit more detail on that one. Okay, cool. So it does look like BlackRock was that main. Okay, so BlackRock was the white line that I was seeing. BlackRock was the one pretty much still buying, but all the other ones have, for the most part, kind of slowed it down in terms of what they're bringing to the table. Again, BlackRock is definitely looking to continue on that one, but they did see a net flow of roughly out $2 billion over the last few days, primarily Grayscale actually doing a bigger sell-off as well. So it is very interesting to see how all of this is going to end up playing out, and definitely I will be keeping my eye and keeping y'all in the loop on that as well. Once again, we got the PulseChain price. Let me actually bring it up to GoPulse.com, make it simple on this one. Go to GoPulse.com. You can gather basic information, good little data, simple information right away, so you can kind of gauge which way it is, whether it be in the hour, the minutes, the days, the weeks, the months. And you can kind of see how the performance is done. So over the last 24 hours today, roughly down 4 here, 4% here, 5 here, and 6% here. So in that regard. The price of PulseChain currently about 20% above SAC, 302. Current price of PulseX, 4052. Current price of the Ink token, $6.46, and the current price of Hex is 120 or 1 penny and 24. Yeah, 1.24 pennies. Woo! That was fun to say. And then the current price of Hex on Ethereum is currently sitting at a quarter of a penny, so 0.0025. So definitely something to keep an eye on there. It's something that we have been tracking. And when you look at the overall chart, once again, we are still in a nice little parallel channel that we've been discussing. We are currently below that median right now, so would love to see us push back above it. But as of right now, the RSI is still going to be in a little bit of an oversold situation, which is perfectly fine. We can wait just a little bit longer, folks. I promise it'll be okay. If it does want to go down, it's going to most likely end up going down into this range, which is 4046. That could be a phenomenal buying opportunity. But I think at this point in time, anything is a phenomenal buying opportunity, because even buying right now, just getting back up to SAC, you're almost looking at a 2x right away. So if you're looking for not the quick flip, but a good little addition to your capital, so that way you can see your portfolio go from, say, 10,000 to 20,000. That could happen relatively fast, just getting back up to the SAC price. And you can see we don't really have too much higher, even past the SAC price, to reach a previous all-time high, roughly around 40%. So just making the previous all-time high for PulseX will in fact get you a roughly a 3x almost right away. So congrats to everyone getting in, even through these prices. Sit down, buckle in. It's crypto. Hold tight. You're going to be okay, my friends. I promise. Looking at the Hex price over on PulseChain right now, we currently have the price sitting at 1.25 cents. We are currently just in a little sideways trajectory right now at this point in time. This is on the 3-day, so it's not giving me the 200, but we have fallen below the 50, the 9, the 15, and the 200 EMA. We would love to see that really start pushing back up. Now the 9 is now crossing below the 200. Really, ideally, once again, we don't want to see these items cross. You definitely don't want the 50 to cross downwards over into the 200, as that is the bearish golden cross on that one. And, you know, tends to kind of want to keep going lower. So if you see something like that happen, just keep an eye on that. But again, I'm just paying attention, just giving you a heads up on what I'm seeing. RSI is definitely in an oversold situation, so we could definitely see a rally any minute now at this point in time. The Ink price is playing out dang near identical to what I had drawn already at this point in time on my chart. So looking at this play out as it has so far, we've actually done this pretty darn good bounce right off. Guess what? The 786, pretty darn close to that little fib retracement level. So I'm going to move this over and assume that's going to be the most recent local bottom. If it does want to drop below that, you know, it's most likely going to go a little bit lower at this point. But I'm going to say it's going to find some pretty good support right there. So that's going to be right above the 5 cent level, or $5 level, my apology. And that's going to give us a nice little rally on the way back up. Now, I do see the Ink price wanting to go up into this upper echelon, into the $26 range, which again, from the current price of $6.50 right now, would roughly be about a 4x gain right away. So that's kind of where I'm allocating some capital to right now, along with earning it by yield farming. We've had videos discussing yield farming on this in the past, and it's definitely something I will continue to do. Current price of the Pulse price on this one, or the Pulse chain price, is this going to be 301204. Once again, we are finding that little resistance going to be right here on this median line. It did find it. It did bounce off it. We would love to continue to move past that further and beyond, and then continue to keep on making them higher highs and higher lows, as we've discussed so many times in the past. But we are still in a bullish parallel channel at this point in time, so I'm still massively bullish in this regard. We'll get rid of that one just to make it a little bit easier to see. And it does look like we are finding a little bit more resistance or support above this price as well, above SAC. So we'd love to continue seeing this, keep on making higher highs and or higher lows in this situation. Come on back, retest this level, bounce off it again, possibly come on back up here. That's probably going to be a good level of resistance, as we've noticed plenty of resistance in this region, in this range. This is actually a good little take profit zone for a lot of individuals. So that's kind of what you're noticing when you see a whole bunch of people start kind of taking profit. As a matter of fact, we can actually see the VPVR actually gives us a pretty good gauge as to what's going on here too. So looking at this, we're going to be meeting some pretty heavy resistance in the area that we're in right now, just in this area alone. So it's definitely something to be paying attention to. It is what I'm going to look for next. The next level of resistance that we will find will actually be right up here, 30149 in that regard. And then the next level is going to be pretty much the previous local tops that we were hitting at 3017. Once we pass all of those, again, clear skies ahead. All-time high is not too far away at this point. So it looks like the all-time high would probably end up being right around 2.4x your money as well, just from any purchase that you make, just going back up and attaining the all-time high levels that it's already hit in the past. So it does look like we want to move in that regard, in that range. And then if it does want to drop any lower, again, we got lots of support around this region, which is going to be the 4 zeros and the 6. I would not going to say hate to see it go that low, but it would end up indicating that, again, a lot more people are basically getting shook out, and we would fall below the parallel channel, and there would be a whole bunch of other stuff going on as well. So keeping that in mind, that's kind of where I see all of that going right now at this point in time. Looking at the ink chart. Oh, we already looked at the ink chart. And then looking at the EHEX chart, just to kind of get a quick little gander over here. Once again, we are finding that nice little level of resistance right at the 2028 right here. And currently the price is sitting at 2024, with the ratios still maintaining roughly in this 1-to-5 ratio region. So it's definitely something, again, I'm keeping my eye on. As always, I'll keep you all in the loop on all of that too. That's going to be a rundown on the most recent price action going on. And of course, guys, be sure to hit that sub button, hit that like button, hit the subscribe, and be sure to get notified from all the future stuff.
Hit the sub button, hit the like button.
Oh, that was probably really loud. Is it gonna loop?
Just take a second to smash the whole
cool. All right, when it's done, it'll be done. All right. So definitely smash that page, folks. Smash that page. We got Prospector in the house. Yo, what's up? Rugburn 220 or 222. Dude, I don't know why I always want to add an extra 2 on that. I was recording the video as well for the Patreon shout out too for the sponsors. And as I was doing that, I just kept wanting to say Rugburn 2222. I don't know why, because it's just a 55-55 is my guess. So I'm just used to saying that enough times that it is what it is. I just thought it was kind of comical and funny for sure. But yeah, 100%. Hello. Jason Smith in the house. Addy, what's up? Hello, future multimillionaires. 100%. Smash the F and like button. Appreciate that. ATX. Price prediction for PulseChain this cycle. Song volume is good. Cool. That's good. So, I mean, I'm still in the same ballpark, man. I'm still in the same ballpark of 100 on the bearish side, 1000x on the bullish side. And that kind of goes across the board for all the prices, right? So when you look at, like, say, PulseChain, for example, what you do is you kind of go based on just the all-time low in that situation. So whenever I'm looking at it, I basically just say, okay, cool. Where was the all-time low? Let me turn off the VPVR real quick. So I say, where was the all-time low? Okay, cool. It's right here at the 4 zeros, 3333, right? And so I just do 0.00003305 times, and I say 1000x, and that puts you in the 3 cent range. So 3 pennies, 3.3 pennies to be exact for PulseChain would be a bullish scenario. A bearish scenario obviously would be, only 100x from that price, which would shock a lot of people. But again, I want to be mindful of the overall cycles, right? So I've said this already in the past, but Bitcoin is doing things it's never done in the past. It's got way more institutional investors coming on board than they've ever had in the past. And so I'm looking at this from the time of previous cycles. When you break above its all-time high, usually you get a 12-month cycle before the bull top is in, and then the bear market begins, right? And that's just Bitcoin. I go off that, looking at PulseChain, looking at PulseX. I do believe we go a little bit further past and beyond what the Bitcoin market will do. And so another consideration is kind of like that. But again, looking on the lower side of things, it would put the price at 0.3 of a penny for PulseChain, and that would be kind of where I'd be sitting right there. And I've said this already in the past, but guys, how can you make sure to take advantage of this, right? And so, like, let's just say, for example, you had, we'll say 10 million tokens, right? Oops, I did too many zeros. 10 million tokens. Okay, cool. You would need a 656x in order to become a millionaire in that regard, and the price would have to hit 10 cents. So why put yourself in that predicament where you don't necessarily have to hit the 10-cent region or 10-cent threshold? What if you made it a little bit easier on yourself? You got yourself 100 million tokens. Okay, cool. Now you only need a 66x and the price only needs to hit a penny. Perfect. Well, again, that's just to get $1 million in this scenario, okay? Then you say, what if you made it even easier on yourself and you got yourself 500 million tokens? Well, now you just need 13x, right? So you went from needing 686x to get that $1 million to 13x to get that $1 million. Just by increasing the quantity of tokens that you have. The same thing is going to be said for all of these tokens down here as well. So keeping that in mind, looking at PulseX, doing the exact same math over here, again, being that it has pretty much stayed at this 1-to-3 ratio, it's not exact, but we've got a pretty good outcome where we've been pretty close to about a 1-to-3 ratio as a median for 1 pulse equals 3 PulseX. Again, PulseX is outperforming Pulse, so it's 1 pulse only gets you 2.3x PulseX in that regard. But again, how do we make it easier for ourselves, right? And so you go look at the bottom over here. Oops, I don't have this exact marked over here. Well, I can pull it up real quick and believe it'll just mark it right here. Let me just kind of move this to make sure it's connected to the lowest point. All right, cool. So 5089 is going to be the low of what we're talking about when we say PulseX. So again, 5 zeros, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 8, 9, 0, 7 times that by 1,000. Price of PulseX would end up being roughly around 8/10 of a penny, close to 9/10 of a penny, right below a penny, we'll say, right under a penny. And again, if you just do that same exact thing and just say, okay, cool, what if it only did 100x from the low? Be a little bit wild for sure, but that would be 0.008907, which would only end up being roughly around an 8.9x from SAC price. So they are going to measure from the low, folks. Like when they talk about these X's, it goes from the low. It doesn't go from SAC price. So you won't hear anybody say, how much is it from SAC price? You won't hear that. How many X's has it done? They go from the low and say it has done XYZ, right? Because same thing here. When you go to these websites like GoPulse, you type in all-time low. This is going from an all-time low situation. So it's done a 3x so far. It's done a 5x so far. It's done a 16x so far. And it's done a 2x so far over here from these prices from all-time low, because that is what people are going to be measuring. It's not from SAC price. So keep that in mind. And right now, guess what? You're below. You're below SAC price right now. So even if you end up getting it, and let's just say the current price is sitting at the 40522, right? So let's just assume we did that exact same thing and say, okay, cool. What if it only ended up getting to 100x from here if you were to buy right now, right? So right around this little zone here, 8, 9, that would still be roughly around a 17x gain on that money. Now, again, this is just kind of saying from this point in time, what could be potentially possible. And that's me on the most bear situation, talking about 100x from the bottom. Again, if you end up doing how many X's is it by the time it ends up getting up here, below the penny level over here, right? So you say, okay, cool. What if it was right below a penny, which is basically what I was saying? Well, you're looking at a nice little 160x from here, from today, right? Buying right now at this current moment in time from the price based on the numbers that I just gave and based on the discussions that we just had. Once again, looking at that Millionaire Calculator, which, by the way, is linked down below. If you would like access to this, just go on down below, click it. You'll make a copy in your Google Drive, and you can type in all of your numbers as well. So if you want access to this, it is available to anybody. You say, cool. Well, what if, once again, I only ended up having 10 million PulseX tokens? Well, you need to get a 1300x to get that $1 million of it, and the price would end up needing to be at the 10-cent level, right? And you say, okay, how do I make it easier on myself? Add an extra 0. Cool. Now I got 100 million tokens. Now I only need 140x from the current price. And again, you can adjust this as well accordingly and just say whatever the price is. But you would need 185x from where the current price is right now to turn that 100 million into $1 million. Again, the price would need to end up reaching roughly around a penny. How do you make it easy on yourself? Get yourself more tokens. You say, cool, now I got 500 million tokens. Cool, now I only need a 37x and the price just has to reach 0.2 of a penny. Well, God forbid you get lucky and say, you know what, screw it, man. I'm adding an extra zero on that sucker. I'm getting to 1 billion. Now you only need a 19x on that one. And in this regard, you get that 19x done. The price needs to hit 0.1 of a penny. You're golden. 2 zeros and a 1. You turn that 1 billion tokens over here into $1 million over there. That's how that works, guys. All that matters, how many tokens you have, what the current price is at the time you have the tokens. Pretty easy. Pretty easy for sure. What else we got over here for the question? Song volume's good. Do you think the P hex to pulse chain ratio will change back to 1 to 180 ever? I don't know. What's it at right now? I don't really look at ratios like that in that regard because I'm not doing any sort of like ratio trading. So yeah, it's just one of those fun things. But let's pull it up on let's just pull it up over here. So this is the okay, to answer the question, yes, right? And so I'll give you easy reason why, right? So if you look over here, we'll just mark this as a top, right? And so you look over here, that's a top. Look down here, this is a bottom. I'm just going to kind of go based on like this on the low. And again, where's the median at? So you have 90 over here, a high of 250 over here. A median between these is probably going to be 180. I mean, if I was to add this up and divide it, so 91 plus 257 equals divided by 2. 174 is going to be the median. So like this is actually going to be the median right here. And I just say, boom, mark this. And you would just, change this color to yellow, for example. Make it a little bit brighter for all that matters. And that's going to be the median on this one. So could I see it going back there? 1000%. Only reason why, because things are going to do this all the time, which is why they talk about like ratios and permanent loss and all these things. Guys, if you just give it enough time, I'll actually give you a good little indicator over here. So this is the ink. This is the ink pulse chart. I had these lines drawn back in July. I said, hey, this is crazy. Ink is actually underperforming Pulse. It way outperformed Pulse in the beginning. We all saw Ink hit up to $80 at one point in time in the very beginning of the launch. And then from there, Pulse actually outperformed Ink for damn near the rest of the majority up until roughly around, we'll say, December. Well, this is where the range was, right? And so at one point in time, the range was dropping. We found some support. We broke below it, and then it fell all the way down here. Well, I said, cool. I'm not going to change any of my ink for anything like Pulse at this regard, because why would I change it down here whenever I can see it going back up to these levels? Look where we are now. This is where we are now. All you had to do is just give it time. Could you give it time? This is a long time period. Don't get me wrong. Like, I get it, right? I mean, we're talking from the time this actually was to go down. I believe it's 260 days. 236 days that you would have to wait. So did you wait during the entire time to make that move, or did you sell down here whenever you were getting less tokens, right? And so that's what, like, when it comes to these yield farms and all that good stuff, it's important to know this information. Same thing for PulseX, y'all. Looking at this on the actual comparison side, these numbers change all the time, right? And so this is why I have all of this going down, and forget that little trend line right there, but this is why I have all of this kind of going over the way it's going, right? And so this is where down up here, you would sell your, so basically for every single one PulseX up here, we'll just make it simple. For every 2.5 PulseX up here, you get 1 Pulse, right? And so an idea would be you swap some of your PulseX. I'm not doing any of this, by the way. I don't do the ratio trades. That's just how it goes for these ratios. You can swap some of your PulseX up here, and then whenever the price comes back in this region, you swap all of that Pulse back into PulseX, and you end up with a much larger position of PulseX if you had just been patient. Now, the idea is, could you wait during this entire time while it's going through and doing this? Because eventually it'll come back down. It'll retest this medium right here, right? This 1-to-3 ratio that I've talked about before. It seems to be a pretty set ratio over here. This a good median right now, so I can raise this up a little bit because it's close to about a 1-to-3 ratio. And essentially, could you wait during that time? Because it's going to dip, it's going to go up, it's going to go down. Did you sell? Did you get out? Did you stop farming? Did you do anything? Whatever it was that you were doing over here, and that did you incur the impermanent losses you can discuss? Or did you just wait until you came back into a reasonable range that you may have entered at? Maybe you did enter when it was 1-to-3, or heck, maybe you entered when it was 1-to-4. Well, okay, cool. You just got to wait a little bit longer until it comes back down here. And guess what? The entire time you're actually doing it, you're earning additional yield, right? Because you're earning ink through the entire time it's doing all of this, because you don't really care. So it's just doing all these little moves. And at the end of the day, you're like, I'm earning. I don't care. I'm earning. I don't care. I'm earning. Again, I'm not trying to trade any of this over here. I'm not trying to trade my PLSX for Pulse. I think that's a fool's game for sure, because eventually you're going to get it right. Pulse is going to outperform Pulse X. So this will go like this eventually, meaning Pulse outperform Pulse X. However, you're going to get the timing wrong. So you're going to be thinking, okay, cool, we're going to see this come in the next month, in the next 2 months, in the next 3 months. Well, what if it doesn't happen until all the way over here in September, for example? But you swapped all of your tokens over here thinking you were doing the right thing. You were impatient. You were like, oh, it's never going to happen. It's never going to happen. I guess I thought I was wrong. I thought it was going to happen by May or June. Clearly it didn't. And, now I'm playing a silly game, swapping tokens, doing all these other things. And then it happens in September. And you're like, oh, man, if only I'd waited. If only I could have waited. Like, guys, that happens far too often. Far too often. Do you think PHEX to pulse chain ratio? Yeah, so I think that answered that question, JV. I hope that helped answer your question as well. Bro, you be going live every day. What changed? I like sharing this information, man. I love diving into some of the data, and I'm not having to come up with all those crazy thumbnails. One of the things that as a content creator can be a little bit of a pain is sometimes coming up with thumbnails, right? And so what ends up happening is you get tired of making the new thumbnail or making the new title or doing all these things, and like all you want to do is just make the content, but you don't make the content because of the other hindrances that happen. And again, those things will happen over time. So it worked out in a way that I said, man, I like going live Monday through Friday. I do the Pulse Nation stream sometimes Saturday or Sunday. I do my Patreon stream every weekend as well, most of the time on Sundays at 11 a.m. Central Standard Time, or 11:30 Central Standard Time. And so I do all those already. And so I was like, you know what, let me just pick it up right now. I like talking about this stuff. This is definitely some of the interesting topics. I, got to get everyone's mindset right again for whatever reason, because they go start chasing these new shiny objects. Like we saw people do with the whole freaking Pulse launch or whatever the heck that crap was called. And now they're coming up and making excuses, talking, we're going to launch these test tokens and we're going to do this and we're going to do that. Dude, that's just garbage, man. That's trash. As soon as you get your real money, if you were in it, I would get the F out of it. Straight up on that one, just as real as I can. But again, I enjoy diving into like the data, enjoy diving into some of these discussions, looking at everything happening as well. And just had the time, right? I'm kind of one of those situations. Sometimes you get a little bit bored. If you are retired, for example, you would actually know that sometimes it gets a little bit boring where you're like, okay, cool, I've kind of done what I wanted to throughout the day, and now I'm just kind of sitting here. My other buddies didn't do what I did to get in, and so they are still working. And so you're like, you get tired of like hitting them up and being like, hey man, you want to go meet up? You want to go do this? You want to go do that? And you're like, okay, cool, we're just sitting at the house now. And so like I don't have cable or anything like that, so you watch some of the freaking stupid cable commercials and I'm like, oh fuck, man, the 17th time I've seen this exact commercial. Like commercials are trash, man. Is what it is though, right? JV says, if RH calls it ETH top again, odds are he will confirm the top by dumping his ETH and rotate to Pulse, pumping the hell out of Pulse. Thoughts? Yeah, so I have a fun, interesting thought, and I'll kind of just briefly share it with you. But ideally, like imagine if we did 100x right now, all of a sudden, what are most people going to do? They've clearly shown that they have weak hands. They would just sell and they would go into the thing that hasn't pumped yet. For example, if we saw 100x on PulseChain right now and Ethereum hasn't done its pump yet, most people are going to say, I'm going to take that 100x and go over here so that way I can get another 2, 3, 4, 5, 10x ahead of Ethereum. Okay, that's probably going to happen if people were to do that. So what does that mean? It means we're probably going to end up waiting until the bull market starts for all the other tokens, which it already has, by the way. But we're going to wait until those are kind of like finished on the rally, and then instead of waiting for all that to kind of end up at the end, and then all the people are going to take the profits and move it into, say, PulseChain in that regard, and then that'll be that like good old pump where we go for about another 6 months after the top is already in. Everyone's going to be freaking out or taking profits, or they, thinking the bear's not here yet, and the bear's already here, and so we're going to keep on pumping during that time. That could be a little good indicator to start taking profit yourself, for example, but you got to find that yourself with the 5 Ps of proper preparation to preventing poor performance. Make sure you got some plan in place, man, at the end of the day. So that's kind of my thoughts on that, JV. Eliza says, why has Hex done nothing this bull run? It's still down 99% after all this time. Economic energy disbursement is a simple, easy way to describe it. I mean, you had someone who was a one coin community for the most part. A lot of people in Hexicans, myself included, didn't have 50 other tokens where they were on different networks and chasing meme coins and all that stuff. They kind of stopped the trading behavior. PulseChain sacrifice came out and people were like, okay, cool. Now I'm going to ape in because now I can get everything copied. And then that obviously didn't happen. And so you got a big sell-off there. And then you had PulseChain actually launch, whether it be the mid-May of 2022 that caused another dip, or the mid-May in 2023 that actually was a time that it launched. And then from there, you get PulseChain launching. And how many new tokens have been launched on PulseChain? I think we're up to like 11,000 tokens now at this point in time. And so you had anyone who was pretty much buying Hex before are now looking at buying any other token, which is kind of like the sad part, but it is what it is. I mean, let me just see how many pages there are right now of just tokens in general. So yeah, we're up to 10,586 tokens. My bad. One token was just created while I was talking, 10,587. So there's like a new token being created every freaking minute or every 3 minutes or whatever the time frame ends up being for how long it's been out so far. Another token just got created, right? And so like literally these tokens are just being made, and it's just like rinse and repeat, rinse and repeat. Many of them are rug pulls. Many of them have no liquidity, so you can't do anything with it anyways. Yeah, you might see a 20x, 1,000x% move or whatever, but then you only have $13,000 in liquidity. So it's like you could be sitting on $1 million, but there's literally no chance of you ever getting that money out. So you have to do nothing but wait. But yeah, I mean, this is happening where like literally a new token gets created. I'm sorry, now it's 10,590. So again, you see how many tokens just got created just in that span of time. Well, think about that from the time PulseChain is launched. Okay, cool. All the economic energy that was going into those tokens are now going into all of these other projects. And there's nothing wrong with launching projects. I understand you do whatever you got to do, but unfortunately, the economic energy disbursement is in fact doing it. Kind of like when Richard Hart made that tweet and caused the Hex price on Ethereum to go tank and do what it did. I mean, all of the ecosystem really took a hit. It wasn't like that was like it could be a big brain move for sure, but that was a big hit for pretty much the entire ecosystem, right? Like that wasn't anything crazy that people had really thought of or talked about or whatever. So let me just see. Here we go. Hex is much better. Yeah, so that stake that you sent the text on March 10th. I mean, you can literally look at the charts along this too, right? Pulling up the charts like from the March 10th date. If we were to actually pull it up on the daily over here, when did the dip really happen in all of the RH ecosystem? Surprise, surprise, it was March 10th, right? Or you know what I mean? Like this is when the tweet went out. And again, if you don't believe, you can just kind of see this is the tweet right here. March 10th, the whole blah, 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 slippage, common sense, less liquidity, and all that good stuff. And then you look at the ecosystem that followed there soon after, and you get Hex that dropped, and it just did nothing but once again drop. So you had plenty of the little hype that happened for sure of people trying to swap things over, but it's still down 58% from that day alone. You go and look at PulseX, for example, and you actually look at, guess what, March 10th. When was the top? Like, this was March 10th right here. From this day, it went down 36%, right? And you can literally go back and look at all of the tokens: PulseChain, PulseX, Hex on PulseChain, Hex on Ethereum, March 10th. You can like you already see the candle happening right here, right? And so like this one went down 33%. So that tweet went down and caused even more FUD to happen, and thereby it does truly shake out the weak hands. Like, you want to talk about shaking out the weak hands? Weak hands are getting out, and it does stink, right? But if you actually look at it from the standpoint of, would you rather they get out now, allowing faster, higher price appreciation further into the future, whereby say you end up doing 100x, or are you just going to be met with massive sell orders at the entire time from these people who got their 100x finally and just do nothing but tank the price? Or would you rather them wash themselves out here and then absolutely, whenever the price moons up to 100x, instead of it dropping another 90% all of a sudden because you got plenty of weak hands in the ecosystem, what if the price only drops 30%? Because there's still going to be people who sell and take profits. That's still going to be the case. But instead of that big ass 90% thing, it's going to be 30% dip. And once again, you allow those weak hands to get themselves out. And then you do another 10x pump, thereby giving you a 1000x pump overall. Were you there through the whole time is really the question. And could you stick it out? We are still in a region of a 12-month cycle for the bull run to actually go crazy. So I would not get crazy with it and shake yourself out and fudge yourself out. I know the price didn't do what a lot of individuals, myself included, thought it would when it first launched. But hey, can't always be right with everything. One thing I say that always is very true is you're gonna get the price correct. You're gonna say it's gonna do what you think it's gonna do, but you're gonna get the timing of it wrong. Meaning you think it was gonna happen in 3 months. Okay, cool. It took 3 years. I'm just saying, may not be the case, but hear me out. Like, assuming it all happened in 2023, what if we don't actually see that full rally until the end or middle of 2026? And it was 3 years later. It's a long time to shake people out, right? And you had 2 years of people getting out from PulseChain launching in the first place. And now we've been above sack price on PulseChain. So all the people who did sacrifice back in the day are always in profit at that point in time. Same thing for PulseX. As soon as we hit the sack price, a big ass sell off, right? Over and over and over. And you can literally just look on the charts. So I think it's kind of a little mixture of all that. Eliza, hopefully that helps answer some of the question for you. Jay Everything says 100. Appreciate that. Benny Davis, so much love to you, my friend. Appreciate that. When Ink Pen LP. I don't know what that is. Fox Mulder. So we appreciate it. ATX. Appreciate that, Jason. Bit Finesse. What's up, my friend? This says the people asking why Hex hasn't done anything need to sell before we can rip. Selling on every tiny pump for ants suppresses price. Remember, guys, this shit can all go to zero. Might as well sell now. Lol. That's funny. Get out, guys. Forget about it. Just do it. Jump ship. Go to Solana. Where you're going to be one day where you thought your money. You know what? Forget Solana, dude. I heard Reddit just launched an IPO. Let's go back over there. Go back into stocks, man. Nvidia has done 100x in the span of this year alone. My gosh, or not 100x, a 2x in the span of this year alone. Nvidia's the way. AI is the way. Forget crypto, man. That's funny, Bit Finesse. But anyway, it's true story. There's still plenty of people to get shook out in all reality. That's kind of what it is. Do you think one T-share will outperform the same dollar value worth the Pulse? Good question. So I said it in the future, in the past, I guess. So one thing I do believe is that we're probably going to see more price action from Pulse and PulseX, and along with those tokens, the incentive token and all those, they're all going to end up kind of outperforming a little bit more. And then in the future, when you actually end up getting into like what the true benefit of a T-share is, are going to massively outperform what you can get from, say, Pulse and PulseX. So say in 8 years' time, which we'll say because I'm using the 8 years' time, that it did a 14,000x. Congrats. After that, again, lost of diminishing returns, for example. So what if it only ends up doing, we'll say a 15,000x in the span of 10 years? Cool. What if you staked your hex right now and then you go out, 10 years into the future? Well, that 10 years time of recurring daily compound interest through the entire time, putting a million hex out right now, getting, 4 million hex by the time everything's done. And then you end up doing it to where the price of hex at one point in time will end up being $5, $10 in 10 years time, massively outperforms what that pulse price would do. And again, you've staked it, so you don't have to worry about what happened in the meantime. The price is going low. All these things are happening. You don't have to do anything. You don't have to worry. You don't have to stress about it because you're staked. You just let it do what it does. You said you were going to stake for 10 years. Stake for 10 years. See what's going to happen. But I do see a lot of people taking their money from Pulse and PulseX and the Ink token and all the rewards that they're going to get on this bull market, and then allocating a portion of it at least into Hex and then staking it. So while Hex may not be performing what it's doing now, what if Hex is that little last final performer? You see a final people kind of take, okay, cool, I went up 1,000x over here. I'm going to scoop off maybe 10x and go stake that for 10 years. See what it does, right? I'm going to take some profits along the way on that 1,000x, and I'm going to say, cool, I'm going to take out, say you go up to $20 million, for example, or even $5 million. Cool. You take out 20-30%. Understand that there's taxes if you don't have like a CRT set up and all those other things too. So yeah, it's just kind of one of those fun things. But do I see it happening this cycle? No. Do I see it happening in the future? Yes. Dr. H says, hey, TX, you've done some fire streams this week. Thanks for all you do. Spank the like and share, y'all. Comment to pump your bags. Appreciate that. So much love. So much love for you, Dr. H. Academaciated says, howdy. What's up, my friend? ZZZZ. What's up, my friend? Yeah, I definitely got the little laughter happening all day. Get out now. Hurry. Lol. That's kind of what it is, y'all. It's kind of what it is. Now, let's just run through some quick little news over here and, see what's going on. News over here. This is 5 minutes ago. So CoinEx CEO Haipao Yang. Why do I believe Ethereum will surpass Bitcoin? Ooh, that's a wow. You think Ethereum's going to surpass Bitcoin? My gosh, you're so crazy. I also think that what's going to be funny is when Ethereum does pass Bitcoin, Bitcoin's going to be considered an altcoin. Oh, lol. Like imagine that people just all the Bitcoin maxis and all that good stuff, the Max Kaisers, the Michael Saylors, all those good things. Peter Schiff's from he's going to be seeing it, and then he's going to be laughing because he's going to say, "Oh my gosh, Bitcoin's an altcoin." But I could definitely see it happening. Layer 2 revolution. CoinEx researchers. So what is all this about CoinEx right here? How protocols are interconnected on the blockchain. Cool. Driving change. Dude, none of these articles are even free. This free AI software is disrupting hedge funds. Yeah, okay. Bullshit. Oh, it's sponsored. I was like, that sounds like a bullshit thing right there. These are all sponsored. That's why. Okay, cool. TON Foundation launches open league season with approximately 115 million in TON coin. Green energy meets digital innovation. Explores sun contracts, solar NFTs. Yeah, those are all garbage news articles. So what else do we got, man? What else we got for Blockworks over here? Let me go back to the news, which is what? Latest news. FTX CEO says former exchange faces $9 billion in government claims. Reddit debuts on New York Stock Exchange. That's what I was talking about. It IPO'd. My gosh. Reddit price at $34 a share on Wednesday with the valuation of $6.5 billion is now $47 a share. So surprise. Ether ETFs coming in May. I doubt it. Truly doubt it. Regulatory ambiguity on the ETH status as a security or commodity may still exist. Not all crypto voices need a mic, lol. Vitalik Buterin talks rainbow staking at ETH Taipei to combat centralization risk. There needs to be more solo stakers on Ethereum today. Could rainbow staking be the solution? No, man, it costs 32 Ethereum to stake, to become a validator for Ethereum. And right now, with that price on Ethereum sitting at $3,500, it's going to end up being somewhere in the ballpark of like damn near $100,000 just to get it done, right? So we have $3,500. It costs $112,000 to become a validator on Ethereum. Not many people are going to be a validator on Ethereum. That doesn't make sense. And then they're going to probably end up giving up their Ethereum to be rainbow staking, and they're actually going to put it in here, giving away their Ethereum. So if something was to go wrong, you're SOL, right? You're just kind of like, well, that's what it is, I guess. I gave up my tokens, right? Not your keys, not your coins. They always say that. So when you're giving something access to that kind of stuff, yeah, kind of sucks. Espresso lands a $28 million deal to become a marketplace for shared sequencing. Upcoming Bitcoin halving closely resembles last halving cycle. Cheat sheet: can Bitcoin maintain its momentum into the halving? The halving is expected around April of 2024. Is it? It's not happening on April 20th, is it? I thought I looked it up, and is that true? So we have. Let me just refresh this page because I think the halving's actually on April 18th. To be fair, it could get pushed back because it's done by, you know, every so often of the blocks that end up doing it. Yeah, dude, no. The next halving countdown's on April 18th, so whatever. I guess they said around 420. They're just trying to make a little play on that. So we got 28 days till the next halving, basically. 4,200 blocks remaining, or close to 4,300 blocks remaining. And yeah, that's going to end up happening over there. Don't let Web 3 repeat Web 2's interoperability mistakes. Digital asset. Yeah, none of that really news is fun. What else do we end up having? Price predictions for Cardano over here. Blockstream CEO Adam Back issues bullish Bitcoin ETF statement. Ripple and SEC jointly agree to seal details in remedies briefing. Shiba Inu team member expects new SHIB all-time high before Bitcoin halving. Is there any other news? Not really. I want to see over there. What else do we have today on chain? We got A167 crypto lawyer unleashes scathing attack on U.S. SEC spot Ethereum ETF in danger. Bitcoin sees dramatic slide below 65K over 4 hours. Yeah, that was a lot of. So many people got freaking liquidated, man. So many people got liquidated into that, but that's what they do for taking on leverage like that. How do you get wrecked in crypto? The 3 L's: liquor, ladies, and leverage. So yeah, that's the easy way of doing it. Do Kwon South Korea expedition uncertain after challenge from top prospector. Decentralization stablecoin project Frax Finance move forward with reinstating protocol fee. Bitcoin price set to hit 90,000 amid having impact. Doge surges 16% as X Payment secures 3 new licenses. XRP downsides. Research paper makes further allegations regarding FTX bankruptcy. Lawyers conflicts of interest. What happens if the SEC classifies ETH as a security? Wrong answers only. That's funny. Pixel's crypto game fuels resurgent Ronin blockchain. Dude, Ronin lost so much money on the hack too. It's sad. Could U.S. regulation win approval before elections? Doubt it. Bitcoin, Ethereum to come roaring back. These alts are faring even better. New gaming token on Blast exploited for $4.6 million. White hat hacker involved. Come on, man. You keep playing these games, you're just going to get wrecked with it. And again, like you always think, oh, it won't happen to me. It won't happen. And then all of a sudden, you connect your wallet to a malicious dApp and then fucking wiped. You are wiped out. Here we go. Decentralized stablecoin. Now we just talked about that. Okay, these are pretty dang identical to what both the articles are saying. Paradigm leads $55 million round in ZK proof startup. Yeah, what was something that I saw just a moment ago, and then we'll kind of wrap it up over here. So we actually had a pretty good metric over here for, man, this is from freaking September. I thought I had it. It's not the right one. Short-term holders are bearing the brunt of Bitcoin volatility right now, to be fair. So a lot of people are getting in on the hype of Bitcoin doing its crazy little, March Madness, we can call it, type deal. So Bitcoin March Madness short-term holders bear the brunt of the volatility. March has proven to be pretty dang volatile for Bitcoin, as a matter of fact. So it's been very tumultuous, as they say, from opening roughly around 61,000 to a steady rise at 67. March 20th, Bitcoin experienced a noticeable decline, 68,700, marking an 18% fall from its peak of 73,000 back on March 14th. Interestingly, this volatility spotlighted the behavior of short-term holders, defined as investors retaining Bitcoin less than 155 days. They are particularly sensitive to market fluctuations, often buying Bitcoin at higher prices driven by FOMO, and tend selling when prices decline. So you can actually see a whole little transfer volume from short-term holders and loss of exchanges. So you can actually see quite a bit of people shook themselves out actually through all of this. So it was all kind of chill. And then they all shook themselves out whenever these prices are going high, going low, you know, the 18% dip, all those things. A remarkable instance was on March 19th when a cohort transferred 57,000 Bitcoin to exchanges, totaling a loss to exchanges of approximately $3.7 billion. This figure trails closely behind a record $4 billion loss experienced in the ETF launch, which nudged the price down by 20%. So it got pretty damn close there. Despite these losses, there's a silver lining. Since Bitcoin's all-time high, short-term holders have considerably reduced profit-taking to exchanges, indicative of their dissatisfaction with Bitcoin's current price range and potential anticipation for higher prices. So you can definitely see people are wanting to get higher prices, but whenever things are making new all-time highs, as we've discussed in the past, that is when everyone is going to be in profit, right? That's just how it works whenever things make new all-time highs. So you can actually see quite a bit of the short-term holders over here, all of it happening. This is back over here. When was this article written? August 15th. Okay, cool. It's like that looks old. All right, cool. So I'll close that one out. But I think that kind of gives a good idea of what we're talking about over here, where people are definitely looking at doing plenty of stuff overall and checking it out. And yeah, overall, just seeing how it's all going to work, guys. But as always, so much love to everyone. I hope everyone always has a fantastic day, and I will catch you in the next one. Peace.